Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming through and watching my videos and supporting me. For today's topic, I thought I'd talk a little bit about a few things that I wish I knew before I started losing weight, closer to the beginning of losing weight in the first few weeks of attempting to lose weight. These are going to be general tips, and it's just things I thought about looking back on the process when I started. And I think it could be very helpful to you in terms of just thinking things through a little bit before you get started, or if you're about to get started and you really want to take it seriously, and you really want to give it your all. Then here's a few things that will hopefully help you get to your goal a little bit quicker and more effectively. So I've got a little bit of a list here, just so that I don't ramble too much. So yeah, let's get into the very first one, and that would be, you should not starve yourself. So I think a lot of people think when they start their weight loss journey that the quickest and easiest way to get to your goal is to just eat as little as possible, and with time the weight is going to come off. In some way it will probably come off, but it won't be healthy for you and it won't be sustainable, and you'll reach a point of where you possibly want to start binging, or you just completely go off the rails and you give up. Just eat a balanced diet throughout your day. In terms of a diet plan, or what I eat in a day or something like that, I could possibly do that in a future video for you guys to show you what I do, or maybe just recreate what I used to eat back in the day when I first started out. Okay, so we get to number 2 now. This is going to be to not focus on the scale. So a big thing for me, that prevented me or stopped me from even attempting to lose weight, was the fear of failure. Okay, the fear that it's impossible, it's not something you can be able to achieve, it's too big of a mountain to climb, and you just give up before you even try. And I think for me, having thought about it for a very long time, and eventually deciding to start my weight loss journey, I think one of the big things that helped me was to say to myself at the very start, okay, I know I weigh 145 kilograms. I don't want to focus too much on the scale, because from a few videos on YouTube and a few things I read, your weight is constantly going to be up and down during this process. So you might lose a decent amount of weight to start with, and then after a few weeks all of a sudden you're picking up weight again, and then it's fluctuating here and there. And I know that a lot of people see that kind of thing, and it makes them feel like they're not getting anywhere, like none of their hard effort is showing. And for me personally, I didn't want that to demotivate me at all. So I just decided I was not going to look at the scale. I put the scale away, didn't focus on it for that entire year of my training. I lost the weight in about 8 months, but obviously I continued, and I still got into the habit of not even looking at the scale anymore. It didn't concern me. And I think that is a very good way to look at it, because if your intention is to lose weight effectively and to keep it off, it should not be about the scale. I think the scale is there if you're really tracking every little thing as closely as possible, which is a lot of effort. And my method is always going to be the simple method. Maybe it's not for everyone, but that is my personal experience, and it worked for me. So don't focus on the scale. What helped me with this was, in the beginning, obviously I had no real clue as if what I was doing was working, but I stuck it out. I just continued to do the same routine. And how I knew I was losing weight eventually was after a couple weeks, I started feeling my clothes getting looser, and it was a strange feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but you can sort of start feeling when the weight is coming off. And over the months, that was a good indicator to me that I was on the right track. It's just by how my clothes started feeling very loose, and having to change clothes quite a few times that year. So that was a real sort of eye-opener for me. Another thing that happened, not weighing myself, not really knowing, I was working a full-time job. I still work, a full-time job. And people at my job started noticing that I was losing weight. And when I started hearing those type of comments, like people saying, geez, you're looking good, are you losing weight, what's happening? That just motivated me so much more to just keep going, because I knew I didn't even have to look at the scale. Practical experience in life, just living my life, I could feel that I was on the right track. I could see from the people around me that they could see there was a change in me, so at that point I decided completely. The scale, although for some people it might help, for me personally, I didn't want it to interfere with my weight loss journey, and it really worked. So I implore you, give it a try, and it might really work for you too. Okay, so the 3, which actually ties back into what we've just spoken about. So another thing I decided on pretty early, well, this was one thing I decided on, before I even started, was, I'm not going to tell anybody about my weight loss or that I'm trying to lose weight. Okay, I didn't go out there and broadcast it to everybody that I knew to say, like, I'm on this diet now and I'm doing all of these things and I'm so motivated to lose weight and all of this kind of stuff. I feel like the best way to go about this is to be accountable to yourself, okay? Do it for yourself. You don't have to tell everybody about it. Do it in silence, because the results will show for themselves if you can be consistent and build those habits properly. So that's a big piece of advice from me, a solid piece of advice, I think. Definitely, don't go and broadcast your weight loss around. I think, when things aren't going well, it might reach a point where now you start feeling bad because you've told people you're on this thing and you can't stick to it, and now you're making it even harder for yourself, if that makes sense. That's how I thought about it. So I think definitely number 3, don't overshare about your weight loss. Make it about personal pride, do it for yourself, and after a while the results will show for themselves and people will start noticing, and that will definitely be a big motivator for you. Okay, so number 4, I would say, don't try and do too many things too soon. I think, from the very beginning and very early on, I realized that if I was going to try a bunch of different stuff all at the same time, or try and squash too many things into my workouts, it would not be easy to maintain and I would give up. So what I would do is I would start out very small, for instance, just doing a few sit-ups, just so I could sort of feel it out and start getting used to the motion of doing certain exercises and then perfecting them over the coming weeks, and increasing the rep ranges and the intensity and that kind of stuff. But I think in the very beginning, it's very important that you maybe watch other clips on YouTube, or you see what other people are doing, and you sort of emulate that, because I think that it's very important that whatever exercise you are attempting to do in the beginning, or any exercises you even add over time to your routines, that from the very start you focus on getting your form correct, that you know how to do the exercise properly so that you don't hurt yourself, you don't strain yourself, you know how to do it, and you feel it impacting the muscle where it should. Okay, in the beginning you might not feel it where you need it, but I'm sure by the next day when you start feeling sore from those exercises, you'll sort of have an idea of where it's targeting your body. Okay, so I think keep it very, very simple and focus on these exercises in terms of getting your form correct, and build on it from there. And then don't try and do too many things over time as well. You can stick to fairly simple routines and still lose a lot of weight. That's what I did. I didn't overcomplicate it for myself. I basically had a yoga mat and like 2 kg dumbbells that I eventually brought in when I was doing some cardio for resistance. But for the most part in the beginning, I was only doing body weight exercises. And that really, really worked until you sort of get into the flow of exercise and you start learning more about your body and what works and what doesn't work and how to do things properly. So yes, definitely keep it simple, and yes, just build on it over time. Number 5, I'm going to be pretty honest with you on this one. This was very important from the beginning for me as well. Pretty much all of these are very close to the beginning or just before I started that I decided this was going to be my approach. Okay guys, so now we're going to talk about tip number 5, and that's going to be timing. So in terms of timing, I think it's very important from very early on in your weight loss journey to start setting times in terms of, when you eat and when you train. What I found that really worked for me in the beginning was sort of building habits over time. And you need to start small with these habits, but you also need to be really consistent with them. My body and my mind gets used to the fact that I have now set this time for my exercise, and that I will naturally progress to wanting to do it at that time, consistently going forward. In the beginning, it is a bit tough. It takes about 21 to 30 days to build a habit properly and strongly. So I think you really just need to try your best in the beginning to find a time specifically for training, so that you get used to the fact that I've set this time, I have the time, I'm not really doing much else at this time. Let me set it for my training, and then I'm going to stick to that time as best I can. So I think that's really important. Really try and stick to a time frame for your training. And then with eating, obviously you need to figure out what works best for you personally. I'm not a dietitian, but yes, have set times when you eat, and also have cutoff times for when you eat at night. For me, for instance, I had a big issue with eating at night. I've mentioned this in a previous video as well. So timing in terms of food, I think have a cutoff time as well. If you are somebody that binge eats at night, like I used to do, I think it's very important that you have a cutoff time in terms of when you eat at night, so that you don't keep doing that, because it's very detrimental to your weight loss, especially if you're eating at night, because you go to sleep, you've got all this junk food in your stomach, and it's just converting into fat as far as I'm concerned. So yes, number 5, I would say definitely focus on your timing, making sure that you build the habit of doing things at certain times, whether it's eating or training. Tip number 6 is quite important, and it really just comes down to yourself and what type of person you are. Personally, because I was a big guy for a very long time, I was obviously very used to being bullied and called names and being rejected and all sorts of things like that. So it is very important that you do not compare yourself to others. It's important that you do not compare yourself to others. We are all unique. We all have different situations in life, and things aren't always easy. We've got a lot of different things we're balancing as well. Some of us have kids, some of us are married, some of us aren't. Some of us might travel a lot for work and have different things going on. So comparing yourself to others is not always, the right way to go about things, because you don't really know anything, behind the scenes, what goes on in their life. And if you see somebody that you think looks perfect, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know if they're starving themselves, if they're taking different things, or what they have going on in their life. So make it for yourself, do it for yourself. I think that's the most important factor of all. You need to have that mindset of, I'm not here to try and impress anybody, I'm not here to look better than anybody else, I'm not trying to compare myself to this perfect person on Instagram or anything like that. Do it for yourself, be accountable to yourself, and I promise you'll be so proud of yourself by the time that you've lost the weight, or during the process of losing your weight, that you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it to impress other people, or trying to compare yourself, is essentially what I'm saying. It's not healthy, and a lot of the things that you see might not even be attainable for you, just based on genetics and different things. We are all different people. So be unique, be yourself, and just give it your best shot. 7 and number 8, I'm gonna sort of stick together. If you fail, it's not the end of the world. And along with that, if you binge eat, it's not the end of the world, okay? If you miss your training for like a week, or you just don't feel it, or you're like super sore from training and you just don't have the energy, or you might have decided one night that you've had enough of all this and you just ate something or a few things that you shouldn't have eaten, and now you feel really bad about it. I know what that feels like. I've been there myself. It's not a nice feeling, and you'll definitely beat yourself up about it unnecessarily. Okay. Weight loss does take time. It takes consistent effort, and you need willpower, and you need to be able to say no to things that you've always enjoyed your entire life. So that is not an easy feat, especially if it's your comfort, it's what it's your whole life. For me personally, I was a big guy for the majority of my life. Food was my comfort, and it definitely was not easy to let it go, but through my sort of techniques that I developed over time from the beginning up to where I am now, I definitely say that it's not the end of the world if you fail. Just move on and get back on track. Okay, don't give up. Okay, we all fail. None of us are perfect. You have to just keep trying. I failed many times during this process, but it never stopped me from keep trying, because I wasn't focusing on the scale. Like I said previously, like one bad day is not going to ruin it all, as long as you just stay committed and you stay on track, and you just focus on your goal, and you see the bigger picture. Because the bigger picture, everything I'm trying to teach you here is based around the fact of not making this something short term, but more long term, that you can maintain for the rest of your life. And if you think of your life as a whole, okay, this little period in your life where you're losing weight now is just a small fraction of that. Okay, you've still got the rest of your life to go. Okay, so there's no point in giving up just because you failed a few times. You have to just keep pushing through it until you've built that habit so strongly that you don't need to be doing anything like that. And I promise you this, like once you start getting the weight off and getting compliments and things are going great, and you feel your energy levels surging, and you're not short of breath, and you're not sweating all the time, that will really, really motivate you to work even harder, and to build these good habits even better. So definitely don't worry if you fail. We all binge eat sometimes, and just keep it going, move on from it, and don't beat yourself up over it. And another thing I will just add with that is, even through my process from the beginning, maybe not immediately, I think, after a couple of weeks, I would start allowing myself to have a cheat meal on the weekend. And I mean this in moderation, okay? I don't mean now take the entire day and just eat whatever you want. Just make it a goal. Say like, on Saturday or Sunday, I want a big cheeseburger with some chips. But I'm going to have my workout first. I'm going to maybe train fasted. Or I'm going to have a small breakfast or something. Work it into your diet for that day. Because, people have said, and it is true, calories in, calories out. It doesn't always matter where the calories are coming from, whether it's junk food or healthy food. Obviously I would prefer healthy food, but you could probably still lose weight if you're on a calorie deficit but you're not eating the healthier stuff. I just don't feel like it's good for you. You don't want to be having too many processed foods in your system. And I will say, from going from eating a lot of processed junk and takeaways and that kind of stuff, and then moving to leaner, cleaner, healthier food, I can say that my hair improved, my skin improved, had a lot of less pimples, my hair started feeling a bit better. I don't know how to explain it to you, but it wasn't as sweaty. And I think with sweat, sometimes when you're a big person, it's stinky sweat. It's not sweat that nobody can smell. But I did notice actually that I didn't have much of a scent, sweating while I'm training, because I was just drinking a lot of water and doing different things. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much most of what I wanted to say. I don't want to ramble on about things too much. I think I've pretty much covered everything that I feel was important for me to mention. And I really hope all of what I've said is going to be helpful to you in some way. And please put all these tips into practice or ask any questions. I really want to interact with you guys and just help, like I've said 1,000 times. So thank you for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, comment. It would really mean the world to me. I'm really trying to make these videos for you guys and talk about my experiences. So I would really love to continue doing that. So thank you guys. I'll see you next time.